We are all equal. All Australians live in the same nation with the same set of shared values: freedom, tolerance, egalitarianism, fairness, and democracy. It is these values, which we all have in common, that have made Australia the great nation it is today. A fundamental principle of the Australian way of life is that every Australian gets the same say over our nation's future. No matter your race, ethnicity, religion or gender, your voice matters, and it matters equally. The idea that one group of Australians should have different and separate political and legal rights based on their race goes against everything that this nation and our people have fought for. It will make our society less harmonious and more divided. Our shared history shows that we Australians say no to racial division and yes to equality. This is a video featuring prominent Australians discussing Institute of Public Affairs research on the effect an Indigenous-only voice in our Constitution would have on our society.
We hear a lot about today this voice, that we need an Indigenous voice to represent Indigenous people. One of the problems with that is just what do we mean by represent, and how would they represent that?
A voice to parliament will damage equality. It'll divide Australia. It'll divide us on the basis of race. We don't want that.
It is creating a separate entity. We're not a separate entity. We should be considered Australian citizens and part of the fabric of this nation.
I'm a Queensland senator. I don't want Indigenous Queenslanders being separated from non-Indigenous Queenslanders on the basis of their race and who they can vote for and where they can vote on the basis of a special chamber or a special voice. We're all equal. We're all the same. This is just nuts.
There's diversity in the Indigenous population just as there is in the non-Indigenous population.
And therefore, the idea of the voice, for many Indigenous people that I know, is actually detrimental and entrenching further the fact that we're being considered as one voice and our individual rights are not being recognised.
We should look at proposals that unite Australians, not the proposals that divide Australians. The 1967 referendum was about uniting Australians.
One of the problems with, or one of the dangers with a lot of the movements we see, constitutional recognition, the voice, etc., is that it reinforces the existing us-them mentality. And I think it's pretty clear the us-them mentality is not working. It cannot work.
I firmly believe that the idea of having a constitutionally enshrined voice to Parliament is telling us that there are those that believe that we are forever going to be disadvantaged.
A voice to Parliament will not fix youth suicide in Indigenous communities. It will not fix the infant mortality rate. It will not fix unemployment. We need to tackle the tough issues: education, health, employment. Unfortunately, that gets sidelined or hijacked by the virtue signallers, the blacktivists, the culture vultures. So
instead of having a voice to Parliament, instead of having debates around recognition and finding the next fad, changing the date of Australia Day and all of those things, we should be focusing on acting on the critical issues that we're faced with right now.